It's time to bring out the BetterWorldian in all of us. Welcome to BetterWorldians Radio with your hosts, Ray, Mary Sue, and Gregory Hansel. BetterWorldians Radio inspires you with the people and ideas that are making the world a better place. You'll hear how small acts can make a big difference every day. Now, here are Ray, Mary Sue, and Gregory.
Hi, and welcome to BetterWorldians Radio. BetterWorldians Radio is a weekly broadcast whose mission is to uplift and inspire you to make the world a better place. I'm Greg Hansel, joined today by my co-host Mary Sue Hansel. BetterWorldians Radio is brought to you by BetterWorldians Foundation and is co-hosted by the family team that created the popular social game on Facebook called A Better World. It rewards players for doing good deeds while helping to raise money and awareness for charities. To date, over 40 million good deeds have been done in a better world by more than 4 million people in over 100 countries. Good deeds include expressions of gratitude, acts of kindness, and sending get-well notes to real-world sick kids, just to name a few. This week on BetterWorldians Radio, we welcome Kristi Nelson, the Executive Director of a Network for Grateful Living, which runs the wonderful website gratefulness.org. Kristi has spent virtually her entire adult life immersed in the rewarding work of nonprofit leadership, fundraising, and organizational development. In a wide variety of roles, she has helped to lead, support, and develop organizations committed to progressive social and spiritual change.
Hi, Kristi. Thanks for joining us today on BetterWorldians Radio.
It's such a pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, as we mentioned before the show, gratefulness is one of our favorite subjects. Can you tell our listeners a bit about gratefulness.org and what it offers all the visitors?
Well, it offers a lot. Gratefulness.org is a website that was started, probably about 14 years ago, and under the auspices of a Network for Grateful Living. So we're an international network, and we serve about 1 million people a year from all over the world. We've got about 240 countries and territories represented, people who come to our website. So gratefulness.org, it offers a sense of community. I think that's the most important thing. There's a lot of very specific features and tools, but I would say that one of the most important things the website offers is a sense of familiarity and comfort, connectedness. So people who come 24 hours a day can read things that bring them a sense of feeling belonging to the world and a sense of being normal, and that their struggles are framed and reframed and they get perspective. So we're big into perspective enhancement and helping uplift people in a whole variety of ways. And of course, gratefulness and gratitude are major precepts and the things that are operating principles, kind of our operating system. And I know that we're going to talk some about the features that we have there, but the most important thing is I would say a sense of belonging and a sense of possibility and opportunity in our lives. And we do that through having forums where people get to communicate with each other, through resources and videos and audio tapes that are really inspiring, audio sessions, clips. We have e-courses, and we have a light a candle feature, word for the day, daily question, a private journal. And there's all kinds of different levels at which people join in and belong. And some people are very active every single day. And then some people come once a week, and some people come once a month. But quite a few people visit our website every single day as one of their communities, a major identifying community that they feel they belong to.
Yes, that's wonderful. There's lots of resources there, anything that you really want, and it's very inspiring. Now, gratefulness.org was founded by Brother David Steinelrast. Can you tell our listeners a bit about Brother David?
He is one extraordinary human being, Brother David. He just turned 90.
Wow.
He's a Benedictine monk who is a source of tremendous love in the world, and he's prolific as a writer and as a speaker, and he has really dedicated his life as a Benedictine to interfaith dialogue. And so it's one of the things he's been known for. He's won awards and gotten all kinds of prizes and recognition for his work. across all kinds of faith traditions and really seeking to identify and coalesce around what he would call those kind of common threads of spirituality, the deep, deep dive of all religions, he believes, take us to the same place. And one of those core places that we all arrive through the deep dive through our spiritual lives and our religious lives is into that realm of gratefulness or gratefulness. So Brother David still travels, he still writes, he has a TED Talk that has, millions of people have viewed. He still is available for select kinds of workshops and stuff he does, but he's traveling less now that he's over 90, and he spends a lot of time doing writing retreats now because he really feels like that's the best way for him to continue to channel his teachings is through writing, and he's less interested in spending his life traveling around the world. But we are an archive, an online archive for Brother David's teachings, and we have thousands of audio sessions, videos. We have his writings, his books. All of those are also available on the website. So in addition to all those other things we have, we are also the source for Brother David's teachings and intellectual property online. And then his archives were just donated to the Special Collections Archives at the University of Massachusetts. So his intellectual property also exists there in a tangible form too. So,
one of my favorite clips is A Good Day, and I thought now might be a great time to let our listeners hear a little bit about Brother David and what he says about gratefulness. It's just my favorite.
You think this is just another day in your life? It's not just another day. It's the one day that is given to you today. It's given to you. It's a gift. It's the only gift that you have right now, and the only appropriate response is gratefulness.
Oh, that was wonderful. You're executive director, Kristi, at gratefulness.org. Has gratefulness always been a part of your life before you took this position?
It's a very good question. I think I've always felt very fortunate. And part of that, I believe, has to do with my family of origin and having us not take anything for granted in our lives. When I think about that question, I think about how I was raised to not waste and to not feel entitled to any of the privileges. There was a sense of the blessing of having food on the table was not something that we took lightly. And we traveled, because my father was a professor. When we were young, we traveled overseas, and my parents made sure that we got to experience lots of other cultures to recognize the privileges of our own. And I think that sense of relative context was very helpful for me in terms of we lived a fairly simple life. We were social activists. We were active against the war and in the peace vigils and stuff when we were young. And our whole family went out on Sundays to do peace vigils. And so that sense of being engaged in the community and not taking anything for granted, even peace, but that you had to work for things. That was really important, and a kind of simplicity of life, a value of community, a value of social engagement. Those are really important. So I grew up with those values and principles, and then a very defining part of my life that was a deepening part of my life was when I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer when I was 33.
Oh, dear.
And it was one of those defining times in life for me, which facing what was ostensibly a terminal illness and a very poor prognosis for recovery and survival. And And 33 years ago is luckily 23 years. I've lived 23 years since I was 33 years old. So the good news is I'm still around. But it was, it taught me a whole other level about grateful living. And it was a very spiritual experience for me, the sense of being alone with my own impermanence and recognizing that my life, no matter what else I was going to do, that I was only temporarily on the planet, no matter how long I was going to live. It put me right face to face at a fairly young age with that sense of mortality. And that was a huge deepener for what we would call grateful living.
Yes.
That recognition of everything being transitory, and how do you live fully into the blessing of each moment and the opportunity of each moment. That was very accentuated for me from that cancer experience and then ever since.
Well, yes, you have a lot to be grateful for. I wonder if, Kristi, if you could walk us through a brief gratefulness practice.
Sure. When we talk about gratefulness practices, we really do ride on the coattails of Brother David's thinking about this, which is that anything that we do to deepen our sense of gratitude in the moment is wrapped around a 3-part practice that we call stop, look, and go. And so those components are all really critical. One is stopping is just pausing. It's that sense of becoming fully present. It's what we would call a mindfulness practice. Is really pausing, slowing down, breathing, awareness of exactly where we are, coming fully into our bodies, coming into full presence. And that's the stop part of anything that's going to lead us to gratitude. It's because we're usually so distracted in so many places at once. In our experience, it's about coming fully here and now. And then look is about acknowledging our surroundings, to look, to take literally to take an inventory of what is around us in that moment, what's inside of us, what we feel, what we notice. And so it's about that noticing. Look, notice what's true, and we can direct our attention, just as we know how to direct our attention to things that are awful, we can direct our attention specifically and intentionally to things that are positive. And so what am I grateful for right now? Well, I'm grateful for the ability to be speaking with you all right now. This is an incredible privilege. I'm grateful for the fact that I can sit in this chair, I can move through the world. Start really inventorying those things that bring us a sense of what we are grateful for that we might not otherwise have. And sometimes they're the simplest things. My ability to get up in the morning and walk on 2 feet, that I still breathe with my own 2 lungs, that I'm able to be connected to people I love. And it's starting to take everything out of the realm of taken for granted and into that realm of privilege or blessing or fortune, good fortune. And that is a huge inculcation of gratitude or gratefulness. And then the last step is go, and we call that action. So we go awareness to acknowledgement, acknowledgement to action. And the go part is what you guys were talking about with your Facebook page, where it's not just sitting with your own recognition of what you're grateful for. It's really doing something with that gratitude that makes a difference in the world and really is reinforcing to our own sense of living inside that preciousness of life, is creating a ripple from that blessing or good fortune, whatever it is that we have that we notice. So sharing that, doing something to take care of what it is that we treasure. So if you love the earth, doing something to protect the earth. If you love a person, doing something kind for that person. If you love your community, serving in your community. So the go part is actually integral and really important to a stop, look, go, grateful living practice. And often people stop at the looking, and then they just go back to their life, and they stop and they look and they stop and they look. The going is what makes a difference in the world, and we're big believers in making a difference in the world like you guys are.
Oh, well, thank you. It strikes me that it's very similar to being mindful, a mindfulness meditation. In other words, the whole gratefulness practice is a meditation in itself, and you're adding to it the wonderful actions that go along with it.
That's exactly right. We consider ourselves an engaged or an interactive mindfulness practice. And I've got a long history in mindfulness and worked at the Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society with John Kabat-Zinn. And I'm a big believer in mindfulness. And mindfulness has us really live much more into just the knowledge and the awareness of being present. And so our breath, we stay focused on our breath. We really talk about directing our attention and having the ability to direct our attention toward that which is positive, toward that which is serving us, to notice that which is working well, and the power of that. And that's different. That's more like what you would call kind of a compassion meditation or something, where it's a directed mindfulness practice. Whereas mindfulness is really just about non-judgmental presence in the moment, and that recognition of being here and now. We're actually having people take one step further, and then even one step further beyond that, to act based on that awareness of what is good and what is working and what needs to happen in the world.
We'll talk more about gratefulness in just a moment, but right now I'd like to take a brief break and tell our listeners a bit more about our game on Facebook called A Better World. A Better World encourages habits of goodness, positive mindsets, and giving to social causes to make a positive difference in the world. Players do things like express gratitude, share acts of kindness, send get-well notes to real-world sick children, and more. You can find out more at abetterworld.com. So now, let's get back to our conversation with Kristi Nelson, the Executive Director of a Network for Grateful Living, which runs the website gratefulness.org. So hi, Kristi, this is Greg.
Hi, Greg.
So it's interesting hearing that tail end of your conversation with Mary Sue, especially that conversation on mindfulness and on that last go step that you talked about for a mindfulness practice. To me, to think about that in terms of the difference you discuss on the website in terms of gratefulness from gratitude, how are they different and why is that important?
It's a very fine distinction, but sometimes the best thing or things in life are kind of finely distinguished. You can have good wine and then you can have great wine. You can have, love and then you can have great love. Gratitude is a really important practice, and we really believe it's important to be grateful and to express gratitude and to feel gratitude. But I always talk about gratitude that gratitude is really transitory. That gratitude is a fleeting experience, the way that we have learned. The way that we've learned to experience gratitude is it is conditional. So when something positive happens that I want or that I need or that I appreciate, I feel gratitude. Oh, this is such a wonderful thing. Oh, look how great that is, and then you want that experience or that gesture to be repeated so that you feel gratitude again. And gratitude in that way is, to me, a much more transactional or conditional set of circumstances that lead us to having that momentary feeling of gratitude. Yay, I got exactly what I want. Right. I feel grateful for that. We really think of gratefulness, and we define it as much more the underpinnings of all of that. It's a precondition. You feel grateful before anything happens. So you feel grateful not just for the things, and then everything else is icing on the cake. Right. So if you can wake up in the morning and feel grateful for the gift of life, as Brother David says, in a good day, as you guys have shown and shared with people, we can be grateful for all of these things that we take for granted. And it's about actually seeking out and noticing how much there is to be grateful for. It's a much more proactive, engaged stance rather than looking for and waiting for that kind of thing, that's going to inspire gratitude in me. And I think in a consumer society where we're used to receiving what it is that we want or not receiving what it is that we want, gratitude is kind of a fickle, fragile friend. Gratefulness is a really steady, deep friend. And it's something that we can carry with us all the time, because we are always thankful for the gift of the moment, the gift of life, the gift of the opportunity that presents itself. Even if our conditions and our circumstances don't inspire that traditional gratitude. Do you understand the difference that I'm trying to make there?
I do. I think it's really essential. You know, what I'm hearing you say is that gratefulness is really a lifestyle and a way of being in the world, meant to change how we look at things and how we experience life itself, if I'm hearing you correctly.
That's exactly right. That's exactly a wonderful way to sum it up. And that's a huge distinction. Gratitude being much more passive and transactional, right? That there's a way that you can have so much more agency in your life if you see it as a way of being versus just something that comes into your life in certain moments.
And I think that's an important differentiation. You know, I mean, it's so easy to be grateful when things work out right, but
exactly.
but it's so different to say, let me be grateful for life itself. You know, no matter what has happened, maybe even in the face of some difficult things, because I am here,
especially in the face of difficult things. Exactly.
So I'm curious. You know, you have all these amazing features of the site that I'm hoping to discuss, and maybe we can talk about them in terms of how they help inculcate this grateful living, this ongoing. Sense of gratitude. One of them is the candle lighting feature on gratefulness.org. And I'm wondering, what's the importance of engaging in a meaningful daily ritual like that?
Well, we know from a lot of research and science now how important daily rituals are, right? So that our meditation practices, the things that we do that make us slow down, the things that give us markers in each day, our Light a Candle feature has been around since the beginning of the website, and we have now over 20 million candles have been lit on our website, which
incredible.
Is extraordinary. And that, again, people all over the world, all languages, it's translated into many different languages. And the Light a Candle feature is important to different people for really different reasons. I don't want to generalize here because I think it's interesting. You know, lighting a candle for some people is a deeply religious experience for them. For some people, lighting a candle is inserting a sacred moment in the day just to be intentional, to send an intention to someone else, to make a wish for the day for ourselves, to say a kind of prayer or a meditation. So candles, you know, across all kinds of spiritual and religious traditions have different significance. And what's nice about these is that they're built to be very generic, and so, but also gorgeous and very meaningful, but that they can apply to people from all different kinds of faith backgrounds and secular backgrounds alike. And people go on. You can take a minute to stop, look, and go. Basically, we encourage people to take a few deep breaths, to really rest into your intention for being there. So it's about a 3-minute ritual that, again, thousands of people every single day light candles on our website. And especially, I think it's incredibly useful for people who have experienced loss. We serve a lot of caregivers and a lot of people who are ill, who are putting out blessings and wishes and prayers and hopes for people who are ill, and then also people who have lost pets, children, parents. Whenever there's a big tragedy in the world, we often repost our Light a Candle feature on Facebook, and we have a huge surge in numbers of people whenever there's a bombing, whenever there's violence that people really strikes at people's hearts. It's very comforting to go and sit in a community of people and light a candle. It's a wonderful gift that we can give ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful. You know, I know for myself in my own spiritual life, lighting a candle is always the first thing I do. And I think one of the remarkable things about the fact that there are thousands of people a day at Gratefulness.org and do it, and there's been, you said, over 20 million so far, that it shows you, and we've seen this too with our game on Facebook, it shows you that, you know, lighting a virtual candle can still be very powerful. You know, doing things in the virtual world doesn't mean that they're divorced from the real world. It can actually be an enhancement. And it's wonderful that you've had that experience.
Yeah, hugely so. And I think more and more we get notes and letters from people who say, I'm disabled and I can't leave my home to go to church, so this is the greatest comfort to me, or I'm sick and I would love to be able to do something, or I'm confined to bed. And so there is this huge, it feels like we call ourselves an online sanctuary, and it feels like you're actually at an altar of some kind when you light your candle. We try to make it as real world as possible, but thank you. Yeah, you're right.
No, it's really beautiful. So another feature on the site is the daily question. and it talks about reflecting on the gifts of one's life every day. So why is that important for grateful living?
Mm-hmm. Well, just as we said, having those reflections which make us not take anything for granted. We're subjected in our lives to so many messages in the news and in the media, and so many opportunities to feel less than, to compare ourselves, to covet. Yeah. And our questions are really designed every single day to hold a question and reflection that helps you take stock of what is working in your life, what you have to offer the world. So a lot of it is about how can we be of service. What are the gifts? What can you teach someone? What do you learn from something? What do you learn from an action? What are the privileges? And it's so powerful for people. They absolutely love the ability, we all do, to reflect on what's working, and yet we don't get many opportunities for that. So we have our daily question goes up on Facebook. It's also every day in our practice portal on the site. And people respond to each other. People reflect and then respond to one another. And also people write in there's a private journal which you can write in. And if you want to reflect privately, that's something nobody else can see. And it's a gratitude journal that's on our site that's connected to the daily question and the word for the day. So,
yeah, that is really interesting. You've got me thinking about, not only how important it is that you give people an opportunity to share what's working, but how, it's unfortunate that we don't have that opportunity, across the different groups in our society that are at each other's throats these days, or even in the world at large. We don't talk about, hey, what is working? What is better than it ever has been before? And there's a lot of things, there really are. And instead, we're encouraged to kind of focus on what's broken and what's wrong with our opposition,
Exactly. And there's so much fractiousness, and we're exposed to that on so many levels, and we also once a month have a feature called Grateful News, and it's news to be grateful for. And there's an abundance of that, but you have to go searching for it. So we try to curate a small collection every month and lift up those headlines of stories that inspire us and give us reasons for hope. And there's a lot of it out there, but it's really hard to find. So we do that every month as well.
Oh, I love that. There's so much online that makes you happy is fleeting. And I don't want to disparage it. It's a cute picture of a cat or dog or a child, and it makes you smile, But there's deeper things than that out there that can make us smile, too, and give us reason to be hopeful, like that kind of grateful news that you share. So I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also saw that visitors of the site can send gratitude e-cards. So why is it important to express care and gratitude to different people as part of grateful living?
You're making me smile asking that question. You guys are just proponents of that. We know that it's one thing to feel gratitude or feel grateful, and it's another thing to share it. It makes a huge difference. And so, again, that ripple, how do we share kindness? How do we share appreciation? We have hundreds of free e-cards, and they're designed thoughtfully to reflect our values and with beautiful quotes and beautiful images. And we just love to encourage people to get on there. And how does it feel to receive a kind word from somebody? I mean, we all know that inside our own hearts, and yet we forget how easy it is to take that action every single day. I mean, I think it would be a great practice, and one that we're thinking, about doing, and we did last year actually around Thanksgiving, is to send an e-card each day to somebody in your life, either an old friend. We had different kind of categories that we encourage people to send it to, somebody who you don't know that well, but to send an e-card to someone every single day. And the feedback loop, what that does both to your heart, just in the act of sending it, what it does to that person who receives it, then how that changes their life, and then the feedback that comes back to you, sometimes from that person who's so appreciative for the kindness. And so, again, that's the go part of Stop, Let Go. Is it's wonderful to stop and wonderful to look, and it's really important to go and do something with that feeling of great fortune or gratefulness that you have in your life. So, yeah, and especially to people who are suffering, as you guys say in your Facebook campaign, that you can send a card to a real life person young person who's dealing with illness, and what can matter more than that,
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. We've had the opportunity to send these, thousands, if not now millions of Get Well cards to kids recovering from hospitals, from various illnesses in the emerging world. And oftentimes it's true that these are kids who've never had a kind word spoken to them because they live in communities where they're treated as outcasts because of their disabilities. And so when they get thousands of Get Well notes from people saying, hang in there and get well, just these little moments of kindness, it can feel like overwhelmingly positive. And so we've been blessed to have that opportunity. So thank you.
That's a great service that you provide. Thank you for doing that. That's fantastic.
That's
we have e-cards in all kinds of categories too. So, if you and your listeners want to go on there and see, they're lovely and really inspiring, and they're both for Get Well kinds of things and thank you things, but also birthdays and congratulations and all that kind of stuff. So.
Oh, for sure. They're really, really beautiful cards. So I encourage all the listeners to please go check them out and send them. I think that go step that you share is so essential because, not to use a cliched phrase, but it does really pay that gratitude forward, right? Because it puts this gratitude that's in your heart into someone else's and puts them in a place to then do that for someone else as well.
Exactly.
So, obviously, as you've talked about, thousands of people a day are visiting gratefulness.org. So to me, that says people are really yearning for gratefulness. What do you think? What does it tell you?
We are all, as human beings, I think, pretty desperate these days to feel the ability to look at what we have, not what we don't have, especially those of us who live in a culture which encourages us all the time to feel deficient. And so we're all about taking stock of what is available to us and the opportunities that are presenting themselves to us. And I think people are just really desperate for that. I also think, as I said before, perspective enhancement. Sometimes we get myopic, we get lost in suffering, we get lost in our in a doom and gloom kind of an attitude. Whatever it is, there's lots of things that impact us. And that when we tune into a community of people who are reframing our experiences, it's really uplifting. And there's a big longing for that. And I also think we need nourishment. So part of what we offer, I think more than anything, is a sense of nourishment for the soul, nourishment for the inner life. And, without it needing to be overly spiritual or religious or anything, it really is about nourishing and fortifying our inner life to be able to go through life in this way and to bring our best selves forward in service of other people and in service of our work and what the world needs. And I think there's a deep longing for that, and we're seeing it and hearing about it every single day. So I have no doubt, and I think that especially people who are ill, people who are struggling, and people who are caregivers of those who are ill and struggling, which is most all of us, are in one of those roles in many different ways, or many of, with children, with parents, taking care of people. We need to feel filled up. And so we're a source of filling people up. We're kind of a well that people come to when their own well runs dry.
Well, obviously that well, that nourishment, is a huge service, and I hate to even call it a service, but it's a service that needs support, I'd imagine, from the public. How can people support gratefulness.org?
Well, we are donation-driven. Lots of people support our work through monthly donations and small donations. We call it our Sustainer Circle, and many people giving small donations really adds up, and it's wonderful. And then we also have some foundation partners and some companies that support us, but people giving monthly is really beautiful because that video clip that you played a little bit, the audio, A Good Day, some people come every single day. It's 5 minutes long, and they watch and listen to A Good Day every single day. And they send e-cards every single day, and they do the word for the day practice and the daily question, the journal, light candles. And so what they do is they give back $10, $20, $40, $50 a month and say this is like they're nourishing that which nourishes them. So this is kind of their soul food in a way. And so that's a really nice way, and it's reciprocity, and it's not transactional. It's just more a sense of we nourish that which nourishes us. So that's a beautiful thing. So we have a small staff and a small budget, and we love what we do, and we're sustained by the love of our community. That's it.
So I have one last question. It's a question I try to ask every week to every one of our guests. In this particular case, how do you hope gratefulness.org is helping to make the world a better place?
We really believe at the core that gratefulness, that when we are full of gratitude for what we have in our lives and see life as a gift, that we're much more capable of being generous and kind to those whom we encounter, those who we know and love, and people we don't know and love, people who are like us and people who are not like us. And so grateful living, the act of kind of embodying gratefulness, is absolutely a surefire way, in our estimation, to bringing greater peace to the world, to bringing more respect to personal relationships and social relationships, to enhancing a sense of belonging and the world in which we belong to, that sense of we're inextricably tied to each other, and this interdependence that we all enjoy. It makes us treat one another better. When you're grateful for something, you want to preserve it. You want to nourish it. You want to treasure it. And so increasing that sense of gratitude and gratefulness for what there is, if you're grateful for the earth, you want to take care of it. If you're grateful for other people, you want to protect them. So for us, it's a precursor. It's an underpinning. It's kind of a no-brainer that when we can be in touch with that gratefulness for life, we're much more likely to be agents for the best of what the world needs and what other people need from us.
I think that's perfectly stated. So everyone at home, you can learn more about a network for grateful living at gratefulness.org. Kristi, thank you so much for joining us today on BetterWorldians Radio.
I've had such a great time. I don't want to leave, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's
I
our
really
pleasure.
Enjoyed every minute of it.
It's been a wonderful conversation. I hope we get to connect again soon.
Thank you. I do too. Thank you all so much.
BetterWorldians Radio is brought to you by BetterWorldians Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to make the world a better place by encouraging the very best in everyone. Our philosophy is that it is as important to plant flowers as it is to pull weeds. We focus on positive thinking, positive values, and positive actions. In short, our vision is to bring out the BetterWorldian in everybody so that we can all make it a better world. But we can't do it without your help. Donations support our BetterWorldians Radio podcast, as well as go toward developing new features like articles, videos, blogs, and more. We need the help of BetterWorldians like you to ensure our mission's success and future. Go to BetterWorldians.com to be a part of this important mission. And until next time, please be a better Worldian.